A quick note before we get into the episode. Oversharing is a podcast for entertainment purposes only. It is not a medical podcast and does not constitute medical or psychological advice. Always seek the advice of your physician or mental health professional. All right, let's do some intentions. I'll read them. Hi, Jordana and Dr. Naomi. I'm an avid listener of several Betches podcasts, and Oversharing and You Up are my all-time faves. I wanted to write in about something I think so many people are dealing with right now, layoff PTSD. I've been laid off twice in the past 2 years, both times due to restructuring, not performance. It took me 6 months of nonstop applying to land my current role, and the job market was brutal. There are so many scams out there preying on vulnerable job seekers that even the search itself felt unsafe. When I finally did get this job, several of my new coworkers were laid off within months, again because of a restructuring. My company even has a reputation for doing regular layoffs for no real reason. Scary. Recently, I failed one of those planned phishing test emails, and now I'm terrified I will lose my job. I've gone through the exercise of imagining the worst case scenario, and the reality is it's not benign. My health insurance and financial stability depend on me keeping this job. It's scary as hell. I don't know if I need advice and intention or something to help me calm down in all this constant uncertainty. I'm good at what I do, but the fear never really goes away. Thank you for listening and for making a show that makes me feel seen, perpetually on edge. Betch.
Yeah, this is the thing. She's not alone. Yeah, I think a lot of people feel this, like for themselves, for their partners. Like if it's not you, maybe it's your partner that's been laid off like several times. It can start to feel like it really grates on your confidence. And also, like she's saying, just the fear of not having money to do the things you need to do.
Yeah. And I think it like, not feeling security to bring it back to the last email, even like not feeling security in a relationship or not feeling security in a job, I think have a similar sort of physiological response in some ways of like, I don't ever feel like I can like relax here. I don't feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like okay for now, but I'm always kind of waiting for, and a lot of that's due to past experience, I'm sure for the previous listener too. It's like, how do I feel safe in something that's sort of inherently not safe? Like there's no real way to know that my boyfriend's not going to break up with me next week, or that I'm not going to get fired, or I'm not, even if I didn't do anything wrong. So I do think, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it really does. And I think that's why kind of the key to life, listen up.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first, is being able to trust in your own resilience. Because if your sense of safety comes from the external factors in your world lining up in the perfect way that makes you feel safe, like your partner never leaves you, or you never lose your job, or whatever it is, you always maintain your appearance the way that you want to maintain your appearance, or all the things that are important, then you're always going to be at risk of like having some kind of shit hit the fan, which we all are always, right? Nothing is permanent. Everything can be taken from us. Anything can change at any moment, and any sense of like security that we have is really, probably false, temporary. Things can last for many, many years or decades or whatever, but eventually it's all going to go. I know this sounds kind of morbid and scary. But her strength is that it's the thing that makes it scary, but it's also a strength that she's been through this and she's lived and lasted, and she found a new job. And I'm sure those 6 months were very, very, very scary. And maybe she had to, I don't know, like do a job that she really didn't like in the meantime, or cut back certain aspects of her life that she didn't want to, or ask for help. Whatever these uncomfortable things are that we have to do, those are the things that we're trying to avoid. But like, you're resilient and you did it multiple times before. So kind of just trusting in your own resilience of like, let's say this works for a relationship, like this woman who's in the 7-month relationship. Like oftentimes it does help to be like, I was okay before I met this person. And I will be okay if I love you doesn't mean the same thing to both of us. And we do end up breaking up, or he doesn't love me as much as I love him. Like it's going to be hard and I'm going to cry and it's going to be really uncomfortable. And I might, be at a really dark place. Nobody wants that. But the more you go through those things and come out the other side, you build this resilience, and the trust only lies in you instead of the trust lying in the world cooperating with you or other people cooperating.
Right. And she's been through this before, so she knows what to do. She knows about, the Cobra health insurance stuff. She knows about the other stuff. If I were her, I think the most comfort, and obviously not everyone can do this to the same extent, but I think the most comforting thing to protect against this feeling of I could be laid off at any moment is like to know that you have enough savings that you would be okay for whatever X amount of time. And like the more, that's kind of like the beauty of savings is the more you have saved, the more you can feel like, I think the lower this feeling can get, because the less dire it feels, the more you know you can rely on yourself if it doesn't. And obviously, like not everyone can save a ton of money each month, but I think the more that you can do, this would help that area of your brain that's constantly thinking about the worst case scenario. Is like if you have a backup fund, or if you have your emergency stash of whatever, or you have let's say you just even if that you can't save that much, you have a plan. Let's say you have a because I think you say this all the time, like anxiety is helpful to the extent that it can lead you to action. So let's say you're like, this is a big fear of mine, is being laid off. I've been laid off twice. Job market's unpredictable. If I were laid off, here is what my plan would be.
Yes. Yep.
And then if you have that plan, I think you can be like, okay, hopefully I don't have to use it, but I don't have to go through my days living in fear because I have a plan if things don't work out.
Totally. Yep. I like that advice. I think just like this free floating anxiety can feel really scary. And I know some people, this might work for some people and not others, but for some people, the idea, and I've done this with patients too, where I'm like, okay, go on like rentals.com and pick out a rental that would be within like doable for you, or plan out, okay, I'm going to move back with my parents for a certain amount of time, or like kind of see what happens. Again, saving money is a way to feel sort of protected, and like lowering your cost of living. Like we talked a while back about the White Lotus episode of like, whoever can live with the least is
wins.
Like the winner. Like if you can live in a cot in a monastery eating like a bowl of mush, then you're kind of safe. Like if you can be content in that, then like you don't need to be afraid of anything. Like that's kind of why they do it. They're like, my needs are so little that I don't have to live in constant fear of like having these things that I'm clinging to taken away from me, like this apartment or this, whatever luxury things.
That's a great point. And like knowing which levers you can pull, like if something were to happen, also I think gives you peace of mind. So she's like, all right, if I got fired tomorrow, I would cancel the gym membership. I would decrease my clothing budget by whatever amount. Like that's also, I think, like these are the things that would be easy to change. Obviously, I can't get out of my rent right away, but I could do X, Y, and Z, or that are very easily in my control, and lower I think just like having a grasp of like your finances and how you can reduce them, and what things are like nice to have, but you could live without, also helps your peace of mind.
Yeah. And it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be easy. And the beauty again is that she's done this before. So she probably has an idea of what to expect from unemployment, or what, she has an idea of what to expect. And I would make a plan for how you can survive. Maybe it's exactly what you did before, and know that doesn't sound like fun and it's not going to be forever, but that you can tolerate it. And the more you can tolerate it, the less you have to be afraid of it.
Yeah.
Easier said than done. I know this isn't like the
Of
optimal
course.
answer here. Everybody gets their creature comforts and gets comfy in whatever they're doing.
Yeah, I mean,
what they have.
It's not a fun exercise, but I think if you can like get through the exercise. I used to do this with like my like IVF transfers when I had so many that didn't work or had these issues. I would be like like worried about something that didn't happen yet, my next one not working or something like that. But it really did help me to be like, okay, if this doesn't work, then this is my next plan. And then, and that's my next plan. And I'm going to try these two things at the same time. I'm going to give it this amount of time. It's like, it does. Some people don't work like that. They need to take things one step at a time. But for me, having like a plan A,
worst
B, and
case
C
scenario, kind of, I'll still be okay.
Right. Yeah, it's not the end of the road, or I'm not like totally fucked in my mind. I mean, you could have like the day your transfer fails, the day you get fired, it's okay to live in that I'm totally fucked mode. Like, it's not to say you should just forget about those feelings, but I think that helps with day 2, 3, and 20 is when you're like, I know the new path that I'm on.
Right. Yeah. And look, she says like the worst case scenario is really bad. Kind of like when I go to the worst case scenario, I feel like it's sort of unacceptable. But hopefully you can find a version of the worst case scenario that is like tolerable, whatever that might look like. Maybe, again, if it's moving in with your parents or renting a room in someone else's house, or like these things that don't feel like options. But if you can learn to handle that, it's like a silver bullet kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. If she, I was going to say, if she wants an intention, just very simply, I've handled this before and I can handle this again. So it's scary that you've had to go through it. That's where the PTSD is coming from, but it's also a strength because you've survived it and you can do it again.
Yes. Good luck. All right. Let's do some triggers. We have our first one as a voicemail. Let's roll the tape.
Hi, Jordana and Dr. Naomi. Jordana, congratulations. I'm so excited about your amazing news about your 2 baby girls. I've been waiting for something triggering to come up in my life so I can call, and something just happened. And I'm driving home, so I thought it would be a good time. So I just had my second baby about 8 weeks ago, and one of my closest friends had her baby a few weeks after that, and throughout our pregnancies, we were talking about how great it will be that we'll both be home on maternity leave together, and we were very excited about it. It's her first baby, my second baby. So she had her baby, and she's been having a rough time. I know that it's like I can remember from having my first child how difficult it is. And so we've been chatting mostly over text about different things that have come up for her. And I've said many times, I'm more than happy, like whenever you're ready for me to come over and so our babies can meet, I can meet your baby and I can help you. And I'm having a much easier time this go around. So, but I'm also trying to respect her space and not be too overbearing. So anyway, she's like, yep, would love that. I'll let you know when I'm ready. So one day I'm on social media and I see one of our other friends went over and met the babies, took photos, posted them, whatever. I'm like, okay. So still like trying to give her space and wait for her to let me know when she's ready for me to come over. And I just now gave one of our other friends a call, and it's a mutual friend of ours who I speak with almost daily, and I called her, and she is like, oh, hi, like, you'll never guess where I am. And I'm like, where? And she's like, I'm at Blank's house, meeting the baby. So cute. And I'm just like, oh, okay, like, I wish I knew. I would have happily come too. I'm just out today shopping. So Yeah, it's just, I couldn't help but just feel slightly triggered. It's been almost a month and I have not met the baby. It's okay. Like, I'm trying to respect her space and everything, but I just also couldn't help but feel a little bit triggered by this. So I'm just wondering how triggered you two would be. Thanks.
What do you think?
Yeah, I get it. I like that the first time she was kind of like, all right, maybe circumstantial, like she came over, maybe she was in the neighborhood, like, but once the second one came up, it felt a little bit more triggering, like why her and not me? But in this type of thing, like I think there could be reasons that she's unaware of. She does say that she has 2 kids. So I'm assuming maybe she has like a toddler-ish. They are kind of big germ factories. If she's struggling as a new mom, maybe she's anxious, maybe she doesn't want you to bring over your toddler who might, touch the baby or touch her things. I don't know if that, I mean, long story short, it could be that, but it could be something else that we're not even thinking of that might be changing things, or maybe these friends were a little bit more pushy about like, how's Tuesday?
Right.
Like, I'd like to come by. And you're just kind of really doing I'm going to wait for the invite thing. And maybe these people were a little bit more pushy about it. I can't imagine that she's just like, doesn't like you, or like, I don't know. I wish she were here so I could ask her, like, what is your fear of why she's not picking you to come over and she's picking these other people if it's not like a reasonable reason?
Yeah, maybe she's afraid she's like mad at her or something like that. I agree. I think those are a million reasons that these 2 situations could have happened. Also, like, the only thing I could think that might be somewhat personal would be like this. Let's say the listener is having a really easy time, doing really well. She might be like, I'd rather not be around someone who's like killing it right now. Like, I might rather be with around someone who doesn't have any kids or who's also having a miserable time.
Right.
Like, I do think there is, there's some of that with like anything. If you're going through something, you're kind of like, I don't want to be staring at the face of the mom who's like, just like breezing through this thing. It's just going to make me feel worse. And I'm in like an already kind of vulnerable time.
Right. Yeah. Especially because it does sound like the setup was like, I'll come over and help you. Like, me and my 2 kids
Right.
will come over and like help you with your 1 kid. Might feel a little bit like that's going to be triggering for me. Like, you have the baby on your hip and you have a toddler on your back and you're cooking a meal for me and my kid. Feels kind of like, get out of here, you highly functioning human. Like, I can't.
Yeah. Misery loves company a little bit.
Right.
So she might be like, if you're telling her how like great it's going for you, she might not be like, I don't want you to come over here and feel bad for me. And like, I have to be around your positive energy.
Right. Right. It's like, like, okay, you're unemployed. I'm going to like come over after work and help you with your resume. And like, it's kind of like, I don't like, that doesn't feel amazing. Like, I can handle this, or like you're
just not the person that I like want to be around in this moment, not because you suck or because I hate you, but just because like you're kind of a reminder of like how it could be going, and it's not going that way.
Right. Yeah, I could see that. So long story short, I think there's a lot of reasons. Maybe if you are worried, I don't want to invalidate the whole thing. I totally get it. Like, if you have a friend and they're like making plans with all of your other friends but you, regardless of the baby situation, that can feel triggering. If it's like, oh, someone moved into a new house and they invite everybody else over to see it and not you. Long story short, I don't think this is personal. It probably is related somehow to either her anxiety or her insecurity, or maybe even something just as simple as like, these people are a little more pushy about like, I have a present for the baby, I'm bringing it by on Saturday, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. And I would get on a call with her if she's not ready to be seen. I would just like call her just to check in, see how she's doing. And then like, if it came up, just be like, oh, I noticed You could even make a joke out of it. Like, oh, I noticed these two were invited, like, not going to be offended. Just tell me that you hate me or something. You know what I mean? Like, or something like kind of, or just saying like, you're not mad at me, right? Like, I don't know if she's your very good friend and you had this thing, I think if she would probably tell you if you asked her in a non-aggressive way of like trying not to take it personally that whatever these two got to see the baby.
Yeah. Or I think you could bring it up in some way, or even saying like, oh, I won't bring so-and-so toddler in case you're worried about germs or whatever. Like just as an opener to kind of maybe get her to say what's going on for her.
Yeah. And maybe she also thinks you're like you also just had a baby. Maybe she thinks it's like a gesture that you want to come, like, and you don't like, she's giving you an out.
Yeah.
So I think just to say like, I'm so excited to meet them. Like, just let me know as soon as you're ready. I would love to just be there.
Yeah. Or if she's just like, yeah, she could I think another level, if she wanted to push it, is to just be like, next week I have such and such days available. Let me know if either one of those work for you. Might be another way to just kind of be like, that's how it helps to sometimes try to make plans with someone that's difficult, is instead of saying like, let me know when you want to get together, is very different than like, are you available Thursday?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Good point. All right. I would give this, I think because she hasn't even spoken to her about it yet, I'd give this like a 3, because like there could be several perfectly reasonable explanations. If she was like, had spoken to her about it and she was still not inviting her and still inviting other people, I would rate it higher.
Yeah, I agree. I think one more person that gets invited that's not her, especially if they do like have a toddler or like, have some of these factors, I would bump it up. But I think a 3 sounds reasonable. You have a couple steps to go before we'll bump up the triggered score. Either talking to her, suggesting a date for you to come over, or like another person being invited. We'll bump it up. But for now, I would agree with the 3.
Right. Agreed. All right. Let's do one more. You want to read it?
Right. I will read our last one. Hi, Jordana and Dr. Naomi. Thank you so much for sharing about your life on the pod. I really appreciate the vulnerability and relatable topics you both cover. I have a triggered scenario that happened to me last weekend while at my best friend's wedding. We've known each other our whole lives, so it was very normal that my parents were also invited and present at her wedding. She was my maid of honor and I was one of her bridesmaids. I'm currently 13 months postpartum and still very self-conscious of my larger body. Pre-pregnancy, I was pretty athletic and my size is now the biggest it's ever been. That being said, I was already not feeling my best and nervous about having to look nice in a formal gown in front of other people, all while standing next to 4 other women who have never been pregnant or have kids. I made sure to wear compression shorts underneath my black silk dress to feel more like myself. Come reception time, I was standing with my parents and husband chatting about the wedding. My dad was definitely intoxicated and I had a glass of champagne in my hand. He leaned over and whispered, "Is that a baby bump I see?" I was floored. Like, no, Dad, I'm just fat now. And couldn't he see the drink in my hand? Did he think I would still be having champagne while pregnant with his grandchild? And that right now would be the time I would announce the news to them? Little did my dad know that my husband and I have actually been trying for a second child for 6 months now. And I was still upset about a recent faint positive pregnancy test I got last week that resulted in a late period. I had really gotten my hopes up this month. Luckily, no one else heard this comment, but when I told my husband what my dad said, my husband brushed it off and said my dad was drunk and the comment meant nothing. Please tell me if I'm wrong in being offended by my dad's rudeness and assumption that he gets to make comments out loud about my body. How would you two feel in this situation? Thanks a ton. I bet you needs to buy new Spanx.
Aw.
Yeah.
This is definitely triggering on like every level, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do I think that her dad was trying to make her feel like shit? No, I think he was drunk and, obviously didn't even notice that she was drinking champagne or like
right.
and thought he was being like cute and cheeky.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make it less hurtful. I think when you're like simultaneously trying to, not feeling good in your body, but also wanting to be pregnant and you're not.
Yeah.
And I think the wanting to be pregnant and you're not while looking pregnant is almost like the most hellish combination. Is like when you're doing, you know what I mean? Like I'm basically I'm like doing all the sacrifices as if I was pregnant, but I'm not. It's really frustrating.
Yeah. This is really triggering. I think most people would be upset by this. I don't know if this is out of the norm for him. But yeah, I don't think he probably noticed that you were drinking. I think he was just unfiltered. And it can be, hard not to take it personally. You're aware that like your body hasn't fully recovered yet. I mean, you're very like your baby's, barely a year old. So I would cut yourself some slack if you do have what looks like a baby bump. Like I know it's hard and you don't want it. And it feels exactly like you said, just uncomfortable that you still have kind of this bump from your prior pregnancy, but you're trying to get pregnant. You're not, I totally get it, all validated, but like have some grace with your body. And like your body did beautiful, amazing things. And it's allowed to, we've talked about like kind of be round and soft and like that's okay. And it, very triggering that your dad had to point that out, but also like, okay, you have a round belly. Like,
right.
I know it's hard, but like sometimes it does feel nice just to accept that might be part of how it is right now, especially if you're about to hopefully get pregnant again.
Right. And I recognize that it's very hard to accept that when you're like in a bridesmaid's dress that you probably didn't pick.
Silk
right.
bridesmaid's dress, which just like clings to every curve.
Yeah. I never even wore silk dresses like before anything.
Yeah.
I can't imagine after. So,
honestly, I'm not a fashionista, but like I feel like a silk dress makes almost everybody look like it accentuates any curve that you have.
Unless you're like a supermodel.
Yes.
There's
Super
very few
duper
people
thin.
who can pull that off. And then also, again, you're in the same dress as like 4 other people, comparing your bodies to them, and then your dad makes it. So I do think it's like sort of the perfect storm of she probably didn't really even want to wear this dress. She's like, it's the pregnancy stuff. It's the trying to get pregnant. It's the not feeling good in your own body, all coming together. And I think if you have the kind of relationship with your dad where you guys are close or would like to be close, I think the next day when he's sober, you could say to him, you made a comment to me that was like really upsetting to me, and here's why.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure he'd feel really bad.
Yeah.
I would hope.
Most people would. I mean, I don't get people that like ask people if they're pregnant. Like, just don't do it.
I mean, maybe in the back of his head, he was thinking it, and then he got drunk and he was like, maybe I'll, this will be fun. I'll let her know I know. Cause she like, any kind of like pregnancy assumption I've realized is like high risk, low reward.
Yes.
Like any pregnancy comment is like the most rewarding thing is that you're right. And they've said, yes, I am. And you knew it. Okay. And the worst thing is that you just ruin someone's like entire day, week, whether make them write into a podcast.
Right.
Like, so just they're just not worth it.
Yes. And I do think sometimes family members almost feel like the rules don't apply to them, which is really annoying. I've had a family member just kind of be like, why do you have such long hair? It's not doing anything for you. I'm like, okay. Thanks for that unsolicited input.
Right. It was not asked for you at all. Yeah.
Right. So like sometimes it's kind of like, well, I'm your father, or like, well, I'm your sister, or whatever. Like, it's like, okay. So does that mean that like you're not going to offend me?
Right.
It's just me. It's like, no, it's still hurtful.
Right. What that means is that is that you're someone I could ask if I wanted to ask, who I think would give me a truthful answer, but it doesn't mean I want that from you unsolicited.
Right.
If I wanted your opinion on it, I would ask.
Right.
What do you think of my hair long?
Right.
It's also such a stretch. You'd almost have to be trying to insult someone to be like, your hair is too long.
Right. Like that's the best you could come up with. But yeah, I find this triggering, especially triggering alone, extra triggering because you're trying and it's been 6 months and
you're in a bridesmaid silk dress.
Yeah. Next to a bunch of other people who are, yeah, I will give this a 7.
I was going to say 7.5. So
yeah.
we're close.
Yeah. I get why this is upsetting. Yeah.
When in doubt, there. Just don't say anything.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I will literally see someone that has like a big, huge, like obviously round like pregnant
about to give birth,
about to, like in labor in the street. Like I'm not going to say anything about
it's just not
this.
worth it.
Not worth it. Yeah. If they want to bring it up, great. Yeah. Can't teach an old dog new tricks, I guess.
All right. Well, sorry that happened to you. And we'll be back next week.
All right. That's our time.
Great work today.